This is the only time of year that I eat tomatoes, when they're fresh from the garden and bursting with flavor. And one of my favorite ways to preserve that flavor, to be able to enjoy it during the winter, is by roasting the tomatoes. And a lot of times I use them right away, but sometimes I have enough left over to freeze so that during the winter I can pull them out and enjoy that sweet flavor. So I will show you one of the ways I love to use roasted tomatoes. And it starts obviously with the roasted tomatoes. So when I started with this pan, it was loaded with halved cherry tomatoes from my garden. And you can see how much they kind of shrink down, they caramelize as they roast. And I always say, roast more than you think you need, because this is what happens. They are delicious. So once I have those tomatoes, I make sure that I have some frozen puff pastry in my freezer. I've already let it thaw out, and I've unfolded it onto a piece of parchment paper. And on top of that, I am going to make a creamy ricotta filling that will bake right on top of that. And I'll show you how easy that is to put together. I've got 1 cup of ricotta cheese. Oops, wait a minute. I forgot about my egg. I've already put the egg in the bowl, and I'm just gonna whip that up a little bit before I add 1 cup of ricotta cheese. I've got this 1 cup of ricotta. Put that into the bowl, along with 1 cup of grated cheese. Now this is a Gruyere cheese that I love for its nutty, mellow flavor, but you could also use provolone, you could use Gouda, you could even use mozzarella, because it's a nice melting cheese. And then add a good heaping tablespoon of fresh herbs. So today I've got parsley and basil. Stir that in, along with a little salt and pepper. And that's all there is to this delicious creamy filling. Now I'm going to spread this filling around the puff pastry, and I'm going to spread it, but I don't want it to go all the way to the edges. I just want it to be mostly in the center part of my rectangle, because along the edges, I'm just going to turn it up a little bit so that we have a nice little rim on our, I guess you could call it a tart. It's kind of like a tart. I'm just going to take the crust and just bring it up a little bit and just kind of pinch it along the edges to make a nice little rim. Now I'm just going to pop it into a 375-degree oven and let it bake for about, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. Just keep checking it at around 25 minutes. You want the edges to be nice and golden brown. And remember, this filling is going to be really puffed up. Now you might be wondering, where do those roasted tomatoes come in? This is the time. Once you take your ricotta-filled puff pastry out of the oven, then I like to put some greens on the top, preferably arugula that I've just tossed with a little olive oil and some fresh lemon juice. Just top the greens with some of these beautiful and sweet roasted tomatoes. So there you have it. Breakfast, lunch, brunch, dinner, any time of day is a great time to enjoy these roasted tomatoes on top of some fresh greens with a creamy ricotta filling on a crispy puff pastry crust. I'm Sue Doden, sharing good food for good life 365.